Hey, I'm T.A. Charlie, and welcome to The Road to Concord with Professor Joe Bakanovic. Homeroom is on Rumble. You just go to Rumble and search channels for The Road to Concord. It's one word. When you find it, you go ahead and you click follow. It might mean you got to set up an account, but it's fast, it's easy, it's free. I did it, you can do it. For those technologically challenged members of the class, you can also catch us on Facebook and YouTube. After the show, it's uploaded to Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and BitChute. Just look for The Road to Concord. You can go to the blog page, that's theroadtoconcord.com. That's where you'll find all your show notes, study notes, and handouts for the class. The phone is working. If you don't know how to call in, email us and we'll think about it. Finally, you can email a professor at joe@theroadtoconcord.com. He's a little slow, but he'll eventually get around to emailing you back. This show is currently mainly listener-sponsored. If you are interested in advertising your business on the show, please email us. With that said, we ask for your participation on a value-for-value basis. If you find our show of value to you, then you provide an equivalent portion of your labor and treasure through the donate link on the Road to Concord blog page, the show description on Rumble, and in the comments on the other streams. And thank you to all of you who have and will support this show.
Good morning. Welcome to the Road to Concord. Today is Monday, July 20th, 2026. I am your host, Joe Bakanovic. This is show 659 on the Road to Concord. That's at least 659 hours, but back in the day, we used to do 2 hours a day, sometimes even 3. So I think we're probably pushing at least 700 hours. Now, we're coming up on our 4th anniversary. It's kind of a big deal to me. I didn't expect the show to really, at first I thought it would, but that was the narcissist in me. Anyhow, and for those of you who do not already know this, I am a recovering narcissist. I belong to Narcissist Anonymous, but trying to be a recovering narcissist. Whatever, I am an acquired taste. That much we know. Today's class, consequences of never holding authority accountable. And that's authority at all levels, folks. I'm not going to hit you with a bunch of articles today. I'm pretty much just going to have a little bit of my philosopher's hat on, a little bit of my sociologist's hat on, and a little bit of my preacher's hat on. And it started for me with Trump's speech about the election and the way people have responded to it. And that it just irked the holy out of me. I've calmed down now, but the left is, and even, okay, no more left, right. The lawful versus lawless. The lawless members of our society are saying, you can't question the election. He was fairly elected, meaning Biden, and all this mess. Most of those same people were agreeing with Hillary Clinton when she said Trump cheated in 2016 and that he didn't win. He cheated. It was okay when they say it, totally without any type of evidence. But when Trump questions the election with valid, sound evidence that can be and has now been brought into courts of law and recognized as valid and sound evidence, we're told you can't question it. You're an election denier. Folks, I see the hand of the lawlessness at play here in everything I'm looking at. But I am sick and tired of Trump's supporters giving him a pass in all of this. I'm sick and tired of everybody getting a pass. We have been promised the Epstein files forever and ever, amen. Nothing ever comes of it. It has been turned into a political tool. And it's used to manipulate votes and fundraising, et cetera, et cetera. It's Lucy's football. It's one of the Republicans, the Republicans being Lucy, it's their football. Nobody's ever going to get to kick it. I'm tired of it. Now, I know exactly why they're not going to do this. I can't prove it to you, but it's twofold. One, it would burn down the system. And as far as I'm concerned, the only line that I would ever quote from George Takei comes from Star Trek in one of the movies where he's captain of the Excelsior, and they say, if we go any faster, we'll fall apart. And he slams his chair and says, fly apart then. Well, fine. I'm with Sulu, not George Takei. I'm with the character of Sulu in this case. Burn it down then. I don't care. But they're not going to do this also because it provides them with way too much leverage over everybody within the deep state so that they can use it to control these people. I absolutely believe that. Can I prove it? No. Why do I believe it? Fits the pattern. What pattern? Oh, you haven't been with us long enough if you don't understand that. Fits the pattern. I'm also sick and tired of the corporate crimes that we see and nothing being done about that. You can commit in the quote unquote private sector, you can commit murder. In a lot of cases, all that's going to happen is, slap on the wrist, a fine, and off you go. Well, Joe, that fine could be hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars. Nobody went to jail. Nobody goes to jail for this stuff. You're treating corporations as people, and since you can't put the corporation in jail, you just fine it. Well, why don't you pull its license and make it go bye-bye? Execute it. Oh, we can't do that, Joe. Why? It's too big to fail. Think of all the workers that'll be unemployed. That's my point, folks. If you keep making excuses for foregoing true justice, then there is no justice. And those workers that you're appealing to as a result of the corporation being put out of business, they eventually suffer even more than if they had to find a new job. We just don't see it that way anymore. So we'll just fine the corporation. It's a fine that you and I end up paying, but because we're stupid people, and I do mean as a people, the American people are stupid. I don't like saying that. I know the scriptures say not to call anybody Raka, fool. But I'm sorry. As a population, we are just dumb. And we think we're intelligent. We've been programmed. So we'll accept this garbage. No jail, no loss of corporate status, no reason to ever quit. Huge fines. Who cares? Just pass that on to the customers. Let them pay the fine. So the innocent are punished for the crimes of the guilty. That's exactly how that works. Well, Joe, no, it isn't. They don't have to buy the product. Please. If you understand how the corporate structure in this country has been arranged now, you can't buy anything without one of these people being interconnected on the boards of the product you're buying. So if you're going to find Home Depot and you run over to Lowe's instead, you're still funding that same home repair, do-it-yourself hardware store cabal. They're interconnected, folks. That's what holding corporations are all about. Mother companies. It's a mess. The corporate status should have never been allowed, and now it needs to be ended, but can't even get to that. So, comment on the board from Sailor Sun says, ignorant is a better word, ignorant of Yahweh. No. Stupid. Willfully stupid. Or it's not that they don't know, Sailor Sun. I used to think that way. My harder edge is out now. I used to believe that, and I used to think I have to have grace that way. But we live in a world now where the truth is right there in your hand. And we'll use it to share pictures of our lunch and get clicks for our fingernails and whatever else we do. But we will not use it to educate ourselves. And then if we do, that's willful ignorance, not educating yourself. But when you try to educate yourself, you do not know how to be properly discerning of what it is you're reading. You can't discern. That's not ignorance. That's just stupid. Because everything you need is there. There are people all over this world trying to teach you how to think properly, so that not what to think, how. We're just one of many sources. And if you cannot and will not spend the time to learn, yes, that's willful ignorance. But if you do spend the time with these people, even if they're teaching you wrong and you do not apply what they've taught you, that's just stupid. And in this case, it's lack of wisdom, stupid. That's what I mean by stupid, not mentally deficient. Charlie, is there a better, more kinder, gentler term that I should use for this? Or am I asking the wrong person right now?
I know you like to use the phrase willfully ignorant, and that could apply, but I don't even know if that truly fits, because
that's somebody who doesn't want to educate themselves. I'm talking about, you don't have to be educated to be wise. Biblical wisdom does not require education.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm talking about somebody who refuses to learn common sense. Just refuses.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, people say, well, stupid can't be cured. Mental deficiency can't, no. But somebody who doesn't want to learn common sense, that can be cured. Ask my drill instructors. So that's what I mean when I say, well, people say, well, you can't cure stupid. Not with that attitude. But my drill instructors cured stupid. I saw it. We had a guy who used to smile all the time. He would never wipe the smile off his face when he was at attention. Oh, they cured that, Jack. I met that guy a couple of years later when he was still in the Marine Corps. He still didn't smile. They cured it. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot of wisdom to understand if I'm sitting here smirking like an idiot while I'm supposed to be at attention, I'm going to draw unwarranted attention from my drill instructor. And he kept doing it. He thought it was funny. Well, we had another person in our unit that was closer to Gomer Pyle than this guy. So, yeah, I mean, is there a kinder, gentler way to say somebody who just doesn't give a rat's rip? I can't think of it. Because every other term I have is worse. Sailor Son says he's in the same section, the seat right next to me here, same section of the bleachers. So now let's take us to this. Caitlin Clark. The WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA or whatever, is advocating and supporting the open assault, hate crime on live television of Caitlin Clark. And the players in the WNBA have said they are going to keep assaulting her. That is a public admission, forethought of a crime being sanctioned by the organization for which they play, because this is not sport. What we're seeing happen to that woman is racially and sexually based. She is not gay, so she's catching flack from the Rainbow Jihad crowd in the WNBA, and she is not of color. So she is now legal to abuse. And we are watching her we're watching hate crimes live on TV. Now, how do I know that this is the case? If she were black and all the other players were white and straight and she was gay and the players were saying, we're going to beat the crap out of that black girl because she's gay and black, and the WNBA is saying, have at it, we're not going to stop it, go for it, beat her up live on, dude, you be honest with yourself for a minute. What type of caca storm would that cause? But because she's white, straight, they are committing a hate crime live on, and not a one of them has been arrested. The WNBA should be dissolved. They are a racist organization. Well, not really. In this case, at their corporate level, they're racist. It is part and parcel of their structure, their corporate structure, to allow this. They're also, let's just say it, they're heterophobes. The rainbow jihad, they're all just heterophobes. They're haters. They're heterophobes. I'm sorry, but what's happening right now, that should get the players and the entire corporate structure of the WNBA arrested. And if the WNBA rests underneath another corporation above it, that entire corporate structure, the whole board, should be arrested, charged with these hate crimes, and that structure dissolved. And if there was one above that, same thing, all the way until you get to where there's nobody above it. And if that burned down all of professional sports, so be it. They'll rebuild it, trust me. You'll get your bread and circuses back. There's too much money in it to let it just go away. But if, as a culture, we had just the common decency to demand these thugs assaulting that woman on live TV be arrested and charged with the same hate crimes that they demanded be instituted, and that we charge all corporate officers above the WNBA and eliminate the corporation, because it is now, by definition, a racist organization. And so is the one above it, and the one above it until you get to the top. They should be destroyed. Remove the evil from amongst your society. But no, everything is racist unless it is involving a white victim. Then that's not racist. Have you been paying attention to what's going on in South Africa? Their leaders are now saying that the white man is a subhuman. He's a Neanderthal. And that blacks are Homo sapiens, and the Neanderthal is a lower class of human being, and therefore need to be subservient to the black man. Well, I've heard that music before. But where is anybody saying anything about that in the United States? When it was the other way around, when it was whites in charge and there was apartheid, oh, we had our do-gooders all over the place here in the United States. Where are they now? Crickets, right? That's because it was never about race. It was about which color got to be in charge of the, yes, exactly. It's all about race. Well, we're minorities. No, you're not. No. If you're not Caucasian, you're not a minority. Caucasians are some 13 to 14% of the entire world population. We're the minority. Globally, you're the majority if you've got, if you're what you call a person of color. So if we're such a racist nation, go live with your folks somewhere else. Oh, no, we won't do that either. I'm tired of race being used as a weapon. I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm tired of our society tolerating the race card. We are being punished for a crime we did not commit. Say, oh, well, the structure is still... Really? No. The race card structure has been around now since the 60s. Our whole society is based around appeasing the minority that's screaming that they've been somehow wronged when they weren't alive when any of it happened. And then if you're going to talk to me about the 60s and the Civil Rights Act, you take that up with the Democratic Party, because that is literally the party that did that. You take it up with them. But no, our Black Americans vote for that party en masse. Why? Not because that party cares about them, but because that's where they're getting their freebies from. It's a culture. It's not a race thing. Tired of this. We also have the problem with the progressives, the way they've taught us to look at the Constitution. They subvert it. And the communists, they subvert the Constitution the same way, only on steroids. And that's because the progressives were a kinder, gentler version of the communists. Not my words, Woodrow freaking Wilson's words. We've gone over that in this show. We have read his essay on this show. He calls it the scientific administration of government, the great experiments of Europe. He meant socialism, which I know, well, that's not communism. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The communism that Marx described, that everybody says, it does not exist. That's a fiction. It cannot, will not, never will exist on this earth as long as man is in charge of himself. That will require an act of the Creator to change human nature to get to where everybody just willingly and freely works their butts off until they die for the benefit of everybody else around them. You know, Ferdinand the horse. Oh, wait a minute. You haven't read Animal Farm? See, we've been dumbed down in our schools. Should be mandatory reading for everybody in this country. And now that we can't see the attack on our country from the progressive/commies, we can't see it from Islam either. Or the fact that Obama is the source. Yes, Obama, Manchurian candidate. You elected a president who was not qualified to be president. Couldn't even question that. Why? Because I gave you a obviously doctored Hawaiian birth certificate. Well, that's irrelevant. He was in a madrasa in Indonesia as a child, whereby he had to be a citizen of Indonesia, which means he technically had dual citizenship and now is not a natural born citizen. Whoopsie. Same thing with his father. His father, from everything I've read, was split citizenship. His father had citizenship with the Crown, England, which meant Obama had citizenship with the Crown. He might have had 3 citizenships for all we know. We were never allowed to really, honestly, transparently look into that. So what you ended up with was a Muslim pretending to be a Christian, telling you he's going to fundamentally transform the United States of America, and now we're being overrun by Muslims. Just this morning, I got up and I saw an article where a Muslim man refused to sit next to a woman on an airliner, invoked Sharia law, and then attacked the female flight attendant. Dude, you do that on an airplane I'm on, and you're going to meet Allah. I will arrange for the meeting. That's it. It's just not going to happen. Not around me. Communism and Sharia law. We've got the people starting now. Should we outlaw them? Dude, they're already illegal. Should we stop them from coming into the country? I've found people saying that both are already illegal. I have not had a chance to research those laws and see if they're still on the books, but it does appear that Eisenhower outlawed communism in our government by law, and it does appear that somewhat later after that, we've outlawed Islam in this country, not even supposed to be immigrating. Now, I'm going to go back and check those laws, and if they're still on the books, holy cow. But I don't need either one of them. The Constitution of the United States guarantees a republican form of government. Neither communism nor Sharia law, Islam, is compatible with that system of government. I don't need a law. I just need a judge that upholds the law. Oh, well, there's our problem. And how do I know all of this is illegal? Because these things are repugnant to the Constitution, ergo they are not law and can never be law. Just the freaking guy who wrote the Constitution. What does he know? You know, the one who wrote most of the Federalist Papers to explain how we're supposed to operate this thing called the U.S. He doesn't know jack. Madison, you're an idiot. You don't know what you wrote. And that's exactly what the progressive would do today. You don't know what you were writing. I know better than you do. Not even Yahweh claims to have the authority to trample on your own free will. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. So who are you to trample on the will of another person who clearly wrote it down and explained what he meant? We fall for lies and half-truths all the stinking time. We do that because we cannot think. Why can't we think? Our schools, government schools. They were never meant to be government. John freaking Dewey and Woodrow freaking Wilson. The government might have the people of the community using the government, may have funded it through taxes, but the schools were always meant to stay in the hands of the community, not the county, not the district, not the state, not the federal government. Well, Joe, we need unified teaching. No, you don't. If one school system's better than another, move or improve it. Oh, Joe, that requires you to get off your butt, quit watching Facebook on TV, quit going to the sports games, and actually go get involved in the business of self-governance. Yeah, well, I get it. I get it. I'm guilty of this. I don't go down to local meetings. There's a reason for that. I don't have enough bail money. It's exactly why I don't go. I would lose it. It'd be John the Baptist, Jack, recounting how everybody up there on that board is got no clothes. And I'd be tracing their family lineage. And you'd get to see Gunny Bakanovic come out. And they'd put me in jail. And rightfully so, because I'd be disturbing a peaceful meeting of the people. So yeah, I get it. But we can't think because of our schools. There's something worse. We can't discern jack. Now, Charlie, who do you think I'm going to blame for the people's inability to discern right from wrong, or right from almost right? Who do you think I'm going to blame for that?
Probably teachers.
Churches. Yeah, the pastors, the teachers of the church, Yahweh's people.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. The church isn't doing its job. The church is busy doing Satan's job right now. Satan, he's on vacation, Jack. He's down in Tahiti. He doesn't need to work anymore.
He's taking it
easy. He's got our Christian pastors running around. How is it that this Tallarico guy has not been drummed straight out of the state of Texas? Easy. Texans ain't Texans no more. They may be born in Texas, or they may be living in Texas, but they ain't Texans. Well, Joe, that's stupid. If they're there, they are. No, just because you're living in the United States doesn't make you an American. I'll quote Franklin and see if you can figure it out. Where liberty dwells, there is my country.
Yeah. It's happening in Florida too. We're getting this influx of people coming from California and New York and Oregon
and
Washington,
bringing the cancer with them.
And they're,
it's metastasizing.
It's the flood of people.
Lawless people. It's the water. Lawless people. And I'm starting to understand. Scripturally, it is sin. Yes, I know we got to quit sinning. But I'm wondering if it would be easier, because I saw somebody made the comment. They were, it was Pilot Steve on one of these airline videos on YouTube. And he was talking about how one passenger got unruly and the others didn't. And he said, why? He says, because those decent people value virtue more than their own self-interest, more than their selfish interests. And I that stuck with me, valued virtue. Well, folks, virtue is lawfulness, natural law, in accordance to natural law. Not necessarily religious law, but I think they're connected in my mind. That, to me, I'm a John Locke. I'm not Thomas Hobbes. So virtue, that's the pursuit of happiness. And that's what the Declaration meant, the pursuit of virtue. And if you doubt me, all you got to do is start reading that phrase back in history. It'll take you all the way back to the Greek philosophers. The moral and happy life, which is what Paul calls joy. So we don't care about virtue. I don't care so much about calling it sin anymore, as long as you live according to the laws of the kingdom. If you live according to the laws of the kingdom of Yahweh, you don't have to worry about sin and not sin. And I'll explain why I'm thinking of it this way. On Worship Wednesdays, we're going to start getting into the New Testament real soon. And I'll explain all of that then. But for me, it's about wanting to get back to virtue, which is lawfulness, civil lawfulness, but more than that, morality, universal morality, which comes from the universal lawgiver, the creator. I say his name is Yahweh. But getting back to our society, because we are willfully ignorant, and lack common sense and discernment, spiritual discernment, we have accepted things such as DEI. And that's all based on justice. There's no justice in DEI. It's just racism. It is literally establishment racism. Same thing as affirmative action. That is discriminating against one citizen based on the color of another citizen's skin. Welfare, that's trampling the rights and laws, the natural rights of another human being. You're making one person work for the benefit of another, and you're calling it charity. Foreign aid, same thing. You're making this nation work for the benefit of another nation. Licensing fees to just do what you should be able to naturally do. Censorship based on, well, I can't have you spreading lies. Who the heck are you to decide it's a lie? It might very well be the truth, but you've decided it's a lie because you can't think your way out of your own. Watch your language, Joe. Surveillance based in it's all for safety. If you're going to give up your liberties for safety, you deserve neither. Oh, yeah. That's that Ben Franklin dude, Well, he was just a deist and he was a womanizer and we shouldn't listen to him. He wasn't as much of a womanizer as everybody makes him out to be. How do you know that, Joe? You weren't back there. Because he was allowed into the proper parts of society. If he was that bad, they wouldn't have never allowed him into parliament and other parts of society. Even though, because he let it be known. You could be bad, you just didn't let it be known. Besides, if you know anything about Franklin, if you've ever read his work, I have problems with thinking he was that big of a, skirt chaser, the way it's made out to be today, because that's antithetical to everything he wrote about morality and virtue and his efforts to perfect himself. It's all lawlessness. It's all lawlessness. And that's everything we're living with. These things I just named, DEI, affirmative action, welfare, all that, that's lawless. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they're outlawing that, not me. And it's all tyrannical. And yet there is no outrage and no pushback en masse from the American people. Why? We done been made stupid, man. And I don't think it's my opinion anymore. Or do you remember the study I shared with you a couple weeks ago? Sociology study that says now, for the first time, this current young generation is stupider than every generation that came before it. And that's the word the study used. Stupider. Bottom of the hour break. If you're still with me in 3 minutes, I'm going to talk about Trump and the 2020 elections. We'll see you in 3. Okay, we're back. To paraphrase a saying that's been attributed to more than one person, the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is good men to do nothing. If you do nothing in the face of evil, are you a good person? I have a hard time with that. At best, you're neutral. But in the face of evil, neutrality is evil. The scriptures try to teach us that. There are only two sides in the Bible. You're on the side of lawfulness or you're on the side of lawlessness. There's no middle ground. And this is what's got me deeply troubled. We are a lawless nation, and we're still invoking the name of Yahweh. It's just, that's not going to work. That doesn't work. It's not going to help you. So President Trump, right, wrong, or indifferent, set that aside. Listen to where I'm about to go with this. I don't care if you think he's senile. I don't care if you think he's a tyrant. I don't care if you think he's Cheeto Jesus and that he's our savior. I don't care about that. He presented us with information that seems to indicate China was meddling in our elections in 2020. Now, that claim has been around for a long time, and there does seem to be evidence to suggest that Trump is correct. And it came out when Biden was still president. I've been tracking this for a long time, folks. Congress was still doing investigations. So where is the outrage amongst the American people? Because if China was messing with our elections, that's a Pearl Harbor event, folks. That's an attack on the country. That's a 9/11 event. Where's the outrage? Crickets? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then, yes, sir.
Yeah, we got crickets. Plus, you realize that we've done the same thing. We have interfered in other nations' elections. Israel, one example. Venezuela is another example.
We harbor George Soros, who does this all over the world.
Yeah. So we're not innocent in this.
No. I didn't say we're innocent.
It's not just China interfering with our election. There's many other countries.
Oh, they know Venezuela and Russia did the same thing, and probably Iran as well.
Yeah.
Where's the outrage? There's no proof. He's presenting documents.
Mm-hmm.
When Biden just said it, no documents. January 6th, it's an insurrection. Where's your proof? Here's the video. What you showed me was just the very front where the cameras were, where you orchestrated an attack on the Capitol building using government operatives. Everywhere else, it was peaceful. They were letting them in. They were escorting them around the building. That's not sedition. That's not an insurrection. What I saw was a staged wag the flag, false flag, wag the dog attack. That's what I saw. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to go with it. If you're on the left with this, I can't go with you. We at least need to be looking at these documents. And folks, again, I read a lot. There are at least 4 books from 4 different authors talking about the Chinese connection to our deep state government. It goes all the way back to George H.W. Bush. Actually, it goes all the way back to Chiang Kai-shek and the communists in FDR's administration. And, I get accused of, well, you don't know your conspiracy here stuff well enough, Joe. You want to bet? Just because I don't talk about it doesn't mean I don't know about it, boys and girls. I know how far back this goes. Communism goes all the way back to Woodrow freaking Wilson. So, but where's the American outrage? Now, here's another one. We know. Now, this is slam dunk. We know there was election and voter. Election means you've messed with the structure of the system, and voter means you have messed with individual ballots. We know that there was election and voter fraud in Michigan, Georgia, and Arizona. We know it. We can bring that into a legitimate, fair, honest court of law, and we can make that case slam dunk. Nothing has been done about this. There's no outrage about it. You got half this country defending against it. That's sedition. California, with their most recent thing, we're just going to keep counting the ballots until we get how many we need. That's subversion. That's election fraud. And a lot of those ballots they're very questionable. We now know that they were paying people to fill in their ballots. That's voter fraud. And Pennsylvania. What Pennsylvania did in the 2020 election was a violation of their own constitution. And we allowed it to stand up. They violated their own. That is a crime against the other 49 states that the Supreme Court of the United States ducked. They wouldn't hear it. Folks, that means the Supreme Court of the United States is as guilty of election fraud as everybody else because they ducked their responsibility on a constitutional crisis. And now we're being told everywhere you want to look, there's no evidence. If you think there's no evidence of voter and election fraud in this country, but you know what makes me angrier? There are no arrests. There are no consequences. Nobody's going to jail for an open, in-our-face attack on the United States of America. And if you allow this to go unpunished, you're going to get more and more and more of it. We are already at the point where you can't correct it without causing one half of this country to want to pick up arms. Well, good. Correct it under Trump, because the half of the country then that will revolt is easily dealt with. Those people are going to be too busy trying to hold up their pants with their right hand to fire a weapon with their dominant hand. They'll be easy to take care of. But we can't even question it. Unless, of course, it's the left questioning the election like Hillary Clinton did. Or like Al Gore does. We're building a new feudal system in this country. I don't know how much you know about feudal Europe, but the lords they didn't prosecute each other. They didn't bring each other before the king. The king would just threaten to take away parts of their land, their wealth, their estate. Everybody worked for the king, but they were given their own little fiefdoms, their own little areas to run. We're going back to a feudal system. It's a system of elected kings and dukes. And we're going to be the serfs, the people that they rule over. We still have an opportunity to do something about it, but we're not gonna. Now, the scripture says, who can fight the beast? It's a question. No, I think it's in the book of Revelation. Who can fight the beast? Yahweh and the Messiah. They can end the beast with a word. So everybody reads, who can fight the beast? Oh, I can't do nothing about it. Yes, you can. You can be a good foot soldier in the army of Yahweh. The founders said that this country was made for a moral people. And then they said there is no morality without religion. And then they said there is no religion but the Bible. No good religion, except that which comes from the Bible. Their words, not mine. We won't defend the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence anymore. We give it lip service, but we won't defend it from enemies, foreign or domestic. So why should I expect us to defend the Bible or God or the kingdom of Yahweh? But we expect our country to have virtue and liberty. We want the fruit without doing the work. And we expect fairness and justice. Can't even define those terms anymore. We don't even know what they mean. Can't recognize it when we see it. Trust me, after 4 years doing this show, I have seen this breaks my heart. I don't care whether or not you agree with me. But if I take the time to bring the words of the men who did it, and I present them, and somebody sits and watches the show and listens and goes through it with me, and then a couple weeks later, they're still defending error. Why? So, well, it's just my opinion. It's what I think. It's what I believe. Why? It's just because what I feel. That's stupid. That right there. That's what I mean by stupid. They were presented with facts from the pens and the mouths of the men who did it. There's no higher authority in this case dealing with the Declaration and the Constitution. They know what the founders intended. And they still hold to the teachings of historians or politicians or educators, quote unquote. Dismiss me. I'm not, I don't have any letters, so I can't be, you know, folks, most of the founding fathers that were educated were self-educated. I'm self-educated. You can be too. You don't need a public school indoctrinating you. You know how to teach you, or you should be able to, and you can learn how if you want to. And yet these people still hold to their opinions in contrary to the facts. Well, Charlie, what am I supposed to call it if you hold to an opinion that's in contradiction to the facts that you now know and have been presented with? What do I call that other than stupid? And in this case, I mean,
That's
it's
a good
foolish.
question.
I'm doing something the
Yeah.
Messiah said not to do. I'm calling people rock up. Yep, probably go to hell for it.
Would
But
insanity
what else?
fit?
It is a form of insanity. No. That is, you can't use that
Yeah.
word because people, what do I call this?
Hmm.
And I have encountered this several times with people, you know, from our audience, and they still stick with, well, I just feel that. Can you refute what I gave you on the information? No. Okay, well, fine. You're allowed to think whatever you want, but your opinion is not equal to mine. And these people think it is. An uninformed or a willfully wrong opinion is not equal to a correct opinion or an opinion formed on your understanding of the source of the information.
Well, there is that little thing that I read in this book we're reading that threw me right on the floor and stomped on me when he presented the I don't know, it was a study I guess they did with people regarding logic.
Logic. Tell the audience about that.
And they did this study about presenting people with a sound logical argument, and less than 10% of the people and these were students in college, and even the students that were in logic and philosophy courses only got to about 15% were able to solve this logic problem.
And it's not a hard one.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was floored by that. I don't have, I don't understand that, but yet I do, because I see it in real life, because I've got people in my life that I present them with logical arguments about certain things. You know, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. This is why this, you know, you lay out the logical formula for them, and then they go off and do it their own way. And I'm like, what did you just do? What?
You keep doing the same thing you've always done, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm going to explain why that study showed what Charlie, and Charlie, this might stomp on you too.
I'm waiting.
My sheep hear my voice. He's capital T, truth. All logic does is validate what you already know. Logic just validates the truth. It doesn't help you determine it. That's not how you find truth, not in the biblical sense. Logic just helps you validate it. It helps you ascertain that, yes, I know what I know now. Because if you didn't already know it, you would not be able to use logic to construct the argument to prove what you already know. So what Charlie found is that only 10 to 15% of the people in college hear the master's voice and respond. In order to use logic properly, what we call right reasoning, you have to be willing to bend your knee to it, to bow to it. to its rules. That means you're bowing to the creator of the universe. It's his law. Most people don't want to do that. And that's why they can't ever see it, Charlie. And that's why I can preach to the sheep in a congregation for 50, 60 years, and they'll never understand the Bible. They might even be able to recite it and never understand it. There is only one hope for this nation, for the world. I'm going to steal it from Steve Dace. It's revival or bust, brothers and sisters. And that starts with repenting on the individual level. And this is how the founding fathers did it. John Adams flat out told us the revolution was accomplished in and by and through the Great Awakening. The revolution was the fruit of a spiritual revival. And it was each individual acknowledging that God is Yahweh, Yahweh's God. He gives us our rights, and it is to him we owe our allegiance, and that there are things in this world worse than death. So they found the courage of true believers, of martyrs, to fight for and establish the Protestant theocracy, or the theocratic government of Protestant theocracy. Joe, we're not a theocracy. You might want to take that up with Sam Adams. Well, he's just one man. You might want to find out just how important Sam Adams was to the revolution. Well, that was just his opinion. You want to think Sam Adams would have signed that declaration if he thought that everybody else in that room had a different idea? You don't know Sam Adams. You don't know John Adams either. You don't know a lot of the men that were in that room. They were preachers of the word. It starts with each and every one of us repenting. And repenting is more than, oh, turn around, go the other way. No. Repenting means throw away your way and start doing it according to the rules of the kingdom of heaven. Up. Oh, boy. Can't do that, Joe. There goes my piggy, and there goes my Saturday football games and a whole bunch of stuff. So, if you don't know your scriptures and understand them, how are you going to know and understand the principles and doctrines of the United States Constitution, let alone the Declaration of Independence? Because, folks, I got a little news flash for you. They came straight out of Judeo-Christian ethnics. Yes, they used the works of other men that are not Christians. Yeah. But the principles, the concepts come straight out of the Judeo-Christian ethic, come straight out of the Bible. Their words, not mine. If you don't understand your faith, you're not going to understand your founding documents. If you don't understand your founding documents, you're not going to understand where we've gone wrong or how to fix it. And everything else is spitting into the wind. And if we allow lawlessness to continue, lawlessness will return tenfold. And if you allow tenfold lawlessness, you'll get it 100-fold. Of course, it could be that if this is the case, somebody in the New Testament would have warned us that as time goes on, lawlessness will increase. Luckily, Charlie, we didn't have any of the apostles telling it. Wait a minute. That little guy with the unibrow, the short, gruff dude with the bow legs and the unibrow, I think he said something about lawlessness will increase, especially as time grows short. And that the man of lawlessness will be revealed. You know, the one who had the appearance of propriety, but inside was a devil the whole time. A ravenous wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, Joe, that's just the false prophets. No. A wolf in sheep's clothing can be anybody who's sitting in the pew next to you that is there just for outward appearances to assuage the, I got to punch this so I can get along in society. And yet inside is sitting there dreaming about gambling or their next drink or whatever, just sitting through the sermon, sinning in their mind and heart. That's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Most of the time, I think that's me. Charlie, you get the last word today.
Word. Oh, jeez.
Unless you want to give it to Natasha. I mean,
Well, maybe so, because yeah, we're both struggling with these kind of issues in our life, and I
Natasha
often
says
wonder
word.
when I'm faced with these things, it causes me to step back and look at myself first and question myself. You know, am I really in the right here? And that sometimes that's a scary question to ask, because I've been wrong before.
Yeah,
Horribly
oftentimes,
wrong.
yeah, I'm wrong. Yeah. By the way, that's the teaching of that section in the Gospels. Judge not lest ye be judged. Keep reading, because just 4 verses later, he says, get the log out of your eye so that you can see clearly to get the speck out of your neighbors. In other words, judge.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, that passage is about not being a hypocrite. Oh
Yes.
my God! It's just 3 fingers back at me. You know what? There,
And it's
I'll
it's
point at
about
you
right
that way.
ruling.
All 4 back
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right
it's about right
ruling.
ruling. The other thing that we can't get through our heads is that love does not mean kumbaya and tolerance and friendship and affection. Not always. Not especially in the biblical sense. A lot of times, biblical love is harsh, real harsh. Paul even suggests you throw people out of the congregation where they may end up even dying in the hope that you'll save their soul before they leave so far away from the fold that they can no longer be saved.
Yeah.
Which is a strange thing for him to teach you if you're once saved, always saved.
Yeah.
Nothing to
But we
say,
have a
Charlie?
responsibility to try to correct our brothers. And it tells a lot. And this is something that, I mean, we both deal with this, and it tells a lot when you do approach a brother to discuss things that you have differences about, in how they receive it and what they do with it. Because a sincere brother will say, thank you, brother, I'm going to look into this, and I'm going to test what you just told me, and I'll get back with you. The wolf in sheep's clothing you were talking about is going to say, oh no, you're wrong, without even looking at what you are presenting to them. And I hate to say it, but you got your answer.
Yeah.
You know now what you're dealing with. So,
and folks, if you're so certain you understand the scriptures and other people don't, I want you to remember something. Peter had to be corrected by Paul years after the Messiah had ascended. Peter.
yeah.
If Peter can still go astray in that condition, under those circumstances, and that after living with the Messiah, seeing him risen, by what reasoning do you think you're bulletproof? All right, I'll get us out of here. Tomorrow, Charlie will be handling the show for you. He'll be doing 2 to 3 chapters in Genesis. I'm going to be with family tomorrow. Wednesday, it's Worship Wednesday. I'm probably going to set the table for what's going to be coming in the next few weeks after, because on the 29th we have our guest. I think he pronounces his last name Avant. It's French. Brett Avant. He's a ordained minister. He's got several seminary degrees, if I remember correctly. But his passion is the church history. And man, can he rattles off the church history the way I rattle off the founding fathers. It's just there. He's like a miniature David Barton when it comes to the history of the church. And he's going to be going over the Council of Nicaea with us next Wednesday. But after that, we're going to be starting in the New Testament. And I'm going to be doing with the New Testament the same thing I did with the Old. I look at it very differently than most of the church does. So, and I'll explain, probably set the table for you with all of that tomorrow. Thursday, don't know. Really don't know. But Friday, we'll still be back in our book. So until we see each other again, we thank you for being here. We hope that we're enriching your lives. If we're not being profitable to you in some way, shape, or form, go somewhere and learn from somebody who does do that for you. I would love to have you hit the like button, to subscribe, and hit the bell and follow us. Yes, I'd appreciate that. That helps me. I still like knowing that other people are learning along with us. It encourages me, because sometimes this is a lonely thing we're doing. But if we're not your cup of tea, please go where you're being fed. And just make sure you're actually being fed and not lulled to sleep. That's all I pray for you. Comment on the board. It says, if you have questions for our special show, comment or email them, please. Yes, if you have questions about the Council of Nicaea, get them to me soon, because I got to give them to our guest before the end of this week so you can prepare. But otherwise, we love you. We appreciate you being here. And until we see you next time, y'all stay safe, take care. Yahweh bless, keep you. Bye-bye.